Pandey, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Sanjeev Agrawal, Registrar, Professor Rahul Kumar Mishra, Pro Vice Chancellor, and convener of the Faculty Development Program, Professor Navnit Verma and Professor Sushil Kumar, and co-convener of this program, Professor Arun Kumar Mishra and Dr. Kavita Gehlot, and other faculty members of the organizing committee for inviting me and making me a part of this faculty development program to share my views on the topic guidelines to prepare and publish a research manuscript. Next slide, please. So exactly in our profession, in pharma profession, today's scenario, either you publish or you perish. In different organizations, there is a time-bound compilation of the thesis also. So there is limitations of resources, there is limitation of facilities, there is limitation of different things to carry out a topic, carry out a problem, to give a particular solution to a identified research limitation. So normally there are different steps in research and publication. First one is you need to do some work. That is to carry out a particular topic, you are undertaking a research. Then if we will do something, then we will get something. We will get some output, we will get some data. The data has to be properly analyzed. The data has to be properly analyzed. So if you have done the experiment and you have analyzed the data, then for dissemination, you are transferring your research to the scientific fraternity that has to be published, or else it will remain with you or in the thesis itself. If you will publish it, then the researchers in that particular field of research, they may refer that one for future development in that particular research area. So all these three things, that is carrying out a particular topic, analyzing the data, and preparing a manuscript for publication, this someone can get or learn by experience and over many years. It's not that today we will start and within 1 month we will have a publication, yeah, we can complete the research, yeah, we can analyze the data. So as Dr. Amrita has mentioned, and I am telling, I have only around 15 years of experience in the field of pharma profession. So this topic, mainly because some might be having more experience than me, who are participants also, yeah, who are present over there. So they might be having more knowledge with reference to this topic. As I mentioned, this is learned by experience and over many years. So this is, I will share only with the early career researchers. So I have worked in this university also, IFTM University, when it was Institute of Foreign Trade and Management in 2007 to 2010. So in that particular time, I got my first publication in 2008. And luckily that journal, still its Scopus indexed. And right now, you might have seen from Google Scholar, yeah, from other sites about my publications. And I'm having currently a publication with highest impact of around 7. So I think what I want to say is, this is, you can gain with experience and over many years. It's not within few days or few months. So as you do research, you will be expertise in a particular field and you can do good research. So as publications will come, then you will have the idea to go for good journals, peer-reviewed journals, high-impact journals, that way. So this is learned mainly by experience and over many years. So next slide, please. So first one is for the first one, that is for doing some research, we need to have a particular topic. Then in that topic, what are the limitations, what has already been done, and what we need to do, and what is the gap between the known and unknown things. Then we will have a proper plan, our hypothesis, our objective, all those things. Then when you will perform, then you will get the data. But those are the two things. I will be concentrating on preparing and submitting a manuscript. So when you are considering submitting a manuscript, The first one is a target journal. Target journal. How we will get a particular journal with reference to our research. With reference to our research, a topic that we have done. So this can be obtained, or for that we need to consider a lot of things. We can discuss with the experienced researcher. Say for example, one person cannot do whole research. So there should be a group. So in a particular group, some may be senior, some may be, you can say, freshers. So definitely the experienced person can suggest a proper journal with reference to the research topic. Then searching journals for similar context. So for example, we are doing a research, we are doing extensive literature survey. So while going through the already reported or already published literature, definitely we will come across a lot of journals. So from there also we can go to that particular journal site and we can see what is the reputation of that particular journal. Yeah, there are different publishers, say for example, Taylor and Francis, Science Direct, different publishers are there. We can go online and we can see the journals and we can prefer as per our research topic. After doing all these things, you need to see what are the abstracting and indexing in the present scenario. If they are only Google Scholar index, and that is not considered as a good journal. So it has to be in Web of Science, yeah, SCI indexed, yeah, you can say Scopus indexed. University Grants Commission is having a list of, you can say, CARE list is there. From there we can select out. Then a number of journals, good journals, today's scenario, they are open access and they are having some publication charge. And as far as we researchers are concerned in India, the publication charge is very high. If it's a reputed journal, it may be, say for example, $2,000, $3,000. So this publication charge, then you can say publisher pays, all these things also leads to some clandestine arrangement. You will find some journal, you will find some authors from some foreign country, and exactly if you will say they may or may not have some contribution to that paper. The contribution is mainly with reference to publication charge. Then what is the impact factor? Impact factor. This is most important in today's scenario. Then what again we need to see, if you have enough time, then obviously I will suggest you go for a journal with high impact factor. And if it goes to review process, if it is rejected in that particular journal also, if you will get the reviewer comments, that will be most useful, yeah, very useful for selecting another journal. And the chances in the next journal will be maximum if you are considering all those reviewers comments and you are modifying the manuscript. Then what is the processing time in a particular journal? Say for example, time bound publication should be there. In some journals it may take 2 years. So why should we consider those type of journals? Because if you have a publication, your student is there, he or she has to submit the thesis, and in PhD we need some publications also. So processing time has to be taken into consideration. Then rejection rate. In some journals they are very good, but if say for example the content of our research, by considering our research, if the rejection rate is around 80 to 90%, then it's better we choose some other journal where the rejection rates are less. So that means the acceptance rate is bit high compared to other journals. And if we have finalized one journal, then we should keep some backup journals also, because we never know whether in that particular journal it will be accepted. It will be accepted after revision also. There is no surety that if they have sent it for revision, after revision also it will be accepted. So it's always better if you are having some backup. If it's rejected in that particular journal, then that without wasting time, immediately we can go for communicating to the next one. So next slide, please. So in general, the different contents, structure of a research manuscript, what exactly we are finding in a particular manuscript. First is title and running title. We will discuss everything one by one. Title and running title, then authors and their affiliation, abstract and keywords, introduction, methods and methods, experimental, results, discussion. Sometimes it's combined results and discussion, conclusion, references. Apart from these, some other things are also required depending upon the guidelines of that particular journal. because every journal is having instruction to author package. So from there we can get all those things. Acknowledgement, then conflict of interest. Some journals ask for highlights, some ask for graphical abstract, then some ask for author contribution. What are the contribution of individual author that you are mentioning? Then cover letter, this is very you can say important when you are sending a manuscript, you are submitting a manuscript. Then potential reviewers, some journals ask for potential reviewers because by that way they will save time, or you can say ki our process of publication will be for some supplementary material. So usually these are the different things we must take into consideration while preparing and submitting a manuscript. Next slide, please. First is title of a manuscript. So while writing the title should be very simple. The title should not be confusing. Like if someone will read the title, from the title itself, if someone is getting a lot of questions, then normally what happens, this title gives the idea whether something is related to our research field or not. Without seeing the abstract or content also, from the title itself, we should be clear whether this is required to us, this paper, or not. That's why the title should be simple. It should be brief. It's not that the title is like a paragraph, but it should be interesting. Yeah, it should be catchy. Someone, if they will read the title, or they will think, oh, this will be a, or this is a very good paper. Non-confusing and self-explanatory. That is the thing. Ki the title should explain ki what things should be there in the manuscript. And sometimes the general people, they may ask for running title. That means you can say short title. In every page you will find the title. Then may require title page. Some journal they requires title page because most of the journals they go for double blind peer review process. So in that case, the title page will be different, where the authors, their affiliation, communicating author, their present address, their email ID, all those things will be there in the title page, and the manuscript will start from a fresh page, yeah, as a separate file. Title page will be uploaded as a separate file, and the manuscript will be uploaded as a separate file. That means there will not be any disclosure regarding the authors, yeah, their affiliation in the main manuscript. So we should take these things seriously when you are going for finalizing a title. So when finalizing a title also, it's better that you articulate 4 or 5 titles, then you can rephrase all those things and you can finalize a particular title for your journal. Yeah, sorry, your manuscript. Next slide, please. Then the abstract. After title, there will be abstract. But normally, this abstract is not written after the title. Abstract we should not write after finalizing the title. When you have completed the manuscript, like introduction, materials method, result, discussion, conclusion, everything you have finished, then if you will write the abstract, it will be very easy to write the abstract because you know in which flow you have written the manuscript. In which flow you have written the manuscript. So then it will be easy. But if initially, because abstract is summary of your manuscript. So if you do not know the manuscript completely and initially you sit for writing the abstract, then it will be confusing. So it's better to write the abstract at the end when your manuscript is ready for submission. Then this abstract you will find in different journals, either it is in a single paragraph or it is a structured abstract. Structured abstract in the sense, in the abstract itself, it will have different headings like background, yeah, you can say objective, then you can say method, material and method, then result, then conclusion. So like that, it will be there in the abstract itself. That is known as structured abstract. And normally in abstract, there should not be any citation of references. Reference should not be there. And most of the journals, they do have word limit. That means 250 to 300 words maximum. Within that, you have to write about the whole manuscript, starting from introduction to conclusion. Then normally this abstract is very significant because there are a lot of journals, you may not get the full text of a manuscript, but these abstracts are freely available. So if I am unable to download the complete paper, if I need the complete paper, I have to pay, say for example, $20 to $30. So it's not possible for everyone. So in that case, from the abstract, we need to draw the, you can say the methods they followed, the output, everything. So that's why in the abstract, everything should be there in a concise manner, like background, objective, aim, need of the research, why we did this research, then what procedures we have followed, what methods we have followed, what parameters are there in that manuscript, then what are the different findings. In the findings, we may not mention every result, but the significant, the compelling results should be there. Then the conclusion. This conclusion should be short, but it should be strong. Then the future scope. So from this abstract, someone can rely if this is a good, you can say, manuscript. So that has to be there in the abstract. Next slide, please. Introduction. And normally, one thing, when we are writing a particular manuscript, we must take into consideration the different, like English grammar, in which tense we are writing. Say, for example, we are writing the abstract and we are writing in future. Because abstract we have already done and what we have got. So that should be present and past tense only. Say, for example, we are writing introduction and we are writing future tense. Because in introduction, what exactly things should be there in the introductory part? First, we have to identify the problem. Identify the problem in the sense, in our field of research, what exactly we need to do. So for that, we have to do extensive literature survey. And why we need to do that particular research. And why this research topic is required in the present scenario. So when you are writing the introduction, first we will have a general context on the topic. Say for example, somebody is working on nano delivery of something. So initially they will go for what are the advantages of nano delivery system with or in comparison to the conventional method. Then in nano delivery, a particular, say for example, system they have selected, say for example, polymeric micelles, because there are various methods of nano delivery. So what is the advantage of polymeric micelles? That has to be mentioned. Why our topic is significant. Then in that particular field, polymeric micelles, then there should be a particular drug in what should be delivered in that particular dosage form. So what researchers have already done in that particular area and in that particular drug, you can say. That is extensive literature survey. So when you will do extensive literature survey, then we can say what is known in our field of research and what is unknown till date. That means what is missing or what is the gap in our proposed field of research. So if we can conclude, we can determine these two, then we will have a clear-cut hypothesis. We can hypothesize, based on these, we are going to do these things. So when we have a hypothesis, then we will have a proper planning, that is known as study plan. And the objective of the study plan is to establish new findings in that particular field. To resolve the problem which you have identified. Now, you plan properly, so then we have to interpret, we have to see whether the planning is logical, the way we wanted to go is going to resolve the research topic that we have selected or not. And again, this introduction part, because in introduction part, it's better, from my experience I am telling, the introduction also I am writing after material, method, result and discussion. Because say for example, total is 100%, the whole manuscript. Materials methods, I'm not telling it's very easy to write or it's not a, you can say, significant part of the manuscript. But materials method, that you, everything you have, materials you have used, you have consumed, methods you have followed. So it's very easy to write. Just from the lab notebook, you need to transfer to your computer. You need to type it. Yeah, from the literature, you have to take it out, but in your own language. In your own language. And the references should be there in the introduction part. So first, material method, because it will be very easy to write and you already did it. So this material method section should always be in past tense because you did it. You have already done it. So it should be in past tense. And result means while doing the experiment, what you obtained, yeah, what we got after interpretation, after statistical analysis, all those things you will write in the result section. So that result will also be in the past tense. Then discussion, because while discussing, you will follow a lot of literature. You will follow a lot of literature. So then we will write the discussion. Then it will be easier to write the introduction. So I usually follow this first, materials and method, results. This part you will feel your 50% of my work is over. And definitely interest will be generated inside somebody to work. Then discussion and introduction, it is bit difficult compared to material method and result. Because this from the literature and your findings you have to write the discussion. Introduction completely from the existing literature you have to write all those things. So it's better material method, result, discussion and introduction. And normally in introduction there will have a lot of references, yeah, citations. Next slide please. Materials and methods. Sometimes it happens that you are using some materials, yeah, chemicals, just we are going on using, and say for example the material is exhausted, right now it's not there in the lab, and we have sent the manuscript and the journal people, yeah, you can say the reviewers, they are asking for the manufacturer, yeah, the lot number. Usually we forget this. So in the last slide we have mentioned, I have given one publication in +1. So in that case, again, logically we have to answer, yeah, you can say politely, we have to refuse all those things. We cannot go for argument with the reviewers, yeah, editors. So it's better the manufacturer, their lot number, all those things to mention in the lab notebook. So this material methods section, it normally contains what did we do, what we have done, and how we did it. That means what procedures we have followed, what parameters we have taken into consideration for a particular research. Then this section should be clear. When we are writing, normally the sentences should be very simple. There should be minimum commas. Say for example, in a particular sentence, there should not be 10 comma. Either one, maximum 1, 0 to 1. If it is a single sentence, that will be better. That it's better, there should not be any fancy word. We are trying to, like for a particular word, we are taking the synonyms and we are incorporating a fancy word. If you are incorporating a fancy word, what happens exactly? There may be delay in review process. Why? Say for example, I am a reviewer and I am going through that particular manuscript and there are a lot of fancy words. So what? Unless I am clear about the word, I cannot move forward in that particular manuscript during revision. So what I will do, I will stop over there when fancy words are repeating. So it's better if for that fancy word, some simple words which are very easy to understand, those words should be mentioned in the manuscript. So clear things should be there in the material method, and this applies to the whole manuscript. And this materials and methods should be reproducible. Say for example, you have done something, you have mentioned in the manuscript, and somebody is speaking of that for further research, but they wanted to see whether what has been reported is correct, or when we are doing in some other laboratory setup, it is deviating. So it's better it should be reproducible. Reproducibility, when it will come, when you will do it repeatedly. If once you are doing and you are thinking it's, yeah, this is final, so it may be like negative result also. So false negative, false positive may be there. So that's a number of times you have to do. So here it's better if you can mention some schemes, some charts, if we can give in the metals method. The similarity will reduce while we will go for checking the plagiarism. Then if some ethical clearance is required, that is mandatory in metals method. Statistical analysis in our field is mandatory. And these methods and results, they are correlated. That means whatever the methods you are following, whatever the parameters you are doing under methods and methods, everything you will write in the result. Say for example, one step, we did screening for anti-cancer activity. So the same thing should be there in the result section also. Screening of anti-cancer activity. So the output will be there in the result section. So they are correlated. So in metals method also, whenever you are referring something, those citations, your references should be there. Next slide, please. Results. Results means after doing the experiment, what we obtained, what we got. So it's better when you are ready with the results, those things will be converted into tables, figures. And now these things can be obtained in different softwares very easily, like Figures, Prism you can use, you can get it, everything. Statistical analysis also you can get with a click. Then you can prepare the tables. But when you are preparing the tables and figures, title and legend, these are very important. They should be self-explanatory. From the title itself, what should be there in the table, it should be clear. And in the table and figure, if there is any abbreviation that has to be mentioned below. Or else, say for example, in a particular table, it's mentioned PLGA. Now, if somebody do not know about PLGA, then what he will do, he will see the manuscript where you have mentioned the full form of that PLGA. That means somebody has to refer. Now, normally in table and figure, we are using abbreviations according to our views. So that has to be clarified below the table or figure itself. We should not ask the reviewer to go back to see the full form of that. And some journals, they also ask for abbreviations and their full forms. So that is tables and figures. Then avoid duplication. That means the same result you should not write repeatedly. And when you are considering the figures, normally some journals, they charge for color figures. So in that case, meticulously you decide whether that particular figure can be provided in a grayscale or black and white instead of color figure. If it is mandatory, then that will be charged. And some they charge in print version, some they do not charge in the online version or soft copy. So that we have to decide in which form our figure should be there. Now the results, actually initially we are deciding a hypothesis. The results, either they will confirm what we have, our hypothesis is, you can say it complies with the hypothesis, what we thought, we got the result accordingly. Yeah, it rejects the hypothesis, which we have decided at the beginning of our experiment after extensive literature survey. Then again, results determine whether the original research question has been answered. जो हम hypothesis में सोचे थे, what we have decided, we will do this and we will get a simple answer to a complex problem. Whether we got that answer, then it forms the base for future investigation. No research is perfect or complete. If something has been done in extensively, then it's very easy to do future work. Or if nothing is done on a particular topic, then we can do anything. So that is also very simple. Because if a lot of things is done, then you know everything what has been done. So you can see the gap in our particular research area. So it forms a base for future investigation. Next one, please. The next is discussion. Discussion means we did the experiment, then we got the result. But what does our finding mean? what is the meaning or what are the applications or uses of our finding. So that means what we got, we need to interpret the findings in the light of other research. It's not that we only did a particular research. We have followed a lot of literature. So with reference to those things, we need to interpret what earlier researcher they got, how they have reported. Then we will discuss the finding and relate to other workers. First we will interpret, then we will discuss. So after interpretation and discussion, considering these two, we can make some suggestions. We can make some suggestions considering these two. That's why mainly in the discussion part, you will find the words like may, might be, then analyzing, the output might be because of these. So these things you will get when you will interpret and discuss the findings with reference to others' work. So here a lot of reference